Morning, everybody. It's Tammy, and I am sideways, it looks like. Let's see here. Hey, Brittany, how are you this morning? All right, so we're going to be doing our hermit crab this morning. I'm a little bit early for those who just want to watch me put on the masking, because it's such a little bit of a boring process, and I want to try to move along live today. I've got to take my mother-in-law to the doctor later this afternoon, and I want to make sure that we've got plenty of time to move along here. So I'm just going to be adding, I know that this is probably quite light to see. I picked up the wrong traceable and used it to transfer it onto my paper, and so I'm going to have to make another traceable without red lines on it, just so that I can get that out to you guys. Let's see here. I need to get some of this yucky out of my masking fluid. So on a hermit crab, their little legs have these almost hair-like projections that help them to feel around and such, so we're going to create some of that with our masking, and I'm just using my little silicone brushes here. Actually, I'm going to see if I can get it out of the lid, and then maybe I can pour some in the lid. I used to have a bunch of little medicine cups to pour it in. Yuck. And it's not coming. I really need to get some new masking. Let's see. Morning, Tanya. How are you this morning? Happy Monday. Hope you had a good Easter. We're going to be doing a little hermit crab this morning. Oh, I hope so. Thank you for the confidence this morning. This is getting to be a little chunky, a little on the chunky side. This is way, way, way more than what I need, but keeps me from having to put my brush. Oops, that's the wrong one. So far down in there. There it is. I'm feeling a little out of sorts, obviously, this morning because I can't get it together. So, morning, Mary. How are you this morning? Let me clean this up before I transfer it over to my painting and make a mess. I do not want to do that. Trying very much so not to get it on my skin so we don't have any reactions. So, on a hermit crab, they have these little projections that come off, kind of off and to the side at an angle. So we're going to try for some of that. We're just going to kind of do some quick ones, give them a chance to dry. And I'm just using a very fine silicone brush. And if we need to, if they get a little chunky, then we'll do some negative painting around it to make them thinner. You probably won't even be able to see this as I'm doing it because they're so fine. But I wanted to try to get some of these done, these little feelers done. Make sure you start from the edge of your little legs. You don't want it kind of floating out from nowhere and not attached to anything. Make sure you have some good lighting when you're doing this. And these are going to be so fine, you'll need to be careful not disturbing it as you're painting because it will potentially come loose. I'm trying to see if I see them on both sides. I have a reference. I do on this one. I have a reference photo that I'm using. And so we're just gonna go with that. Okay. Everybody have a really good Easter, I hope. I was going to mask these, but I think I'm going to leave them. Just trying to see if there's anything else here I want to mask. I think I can do most of it without any more masking, so we'll just leave that for right now. Good morning, Linda. Good morning, Sherry. How is everybody this morning? Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. Get some of this off of here. That's the wonderful thing about these silicone brushes is that you can just wipe them right off and not worry about them. I get them in I think I got these from Hobby Lobby. You can get them. This is I think a little bit of a larger, these are larger brushes than the ones that I'm using, but they make them in a couple of different styles. So, morning, Pam. Awesome. I'm glad to hear that. We had our grandchildren all week. All of our children were here for Easter. We had a big gathering on Saturday, and my mother-in-law was in the hospital last week, so we kind of bounced between the hospital and what we had to do, and I'm just going to stay away. I'm not going to get too close to this, but I'm going to try to rush that along a little bit so we can get started some. But we had a big time. I'm pretty tired, but my mother-in-law got home from the hospital yesterday afternoon, and she's got to go back to the doctor this morning for an EKG and some other things. So later on this afternoon. So we're gonna do this and take her out to her appointment this afternoon. I think I'm going to use, I'm not sure if y'all are familiar, but there's a product called Brusho. They come in little tiny packages like this, and basically what it is very loose pigment. And let me tell you a little bit of this. I mean, as small as you can get. I won't use green, probably won't use black, because you would be surprised how far this stuff goes. And I'll show you on my kind of a practice piece. It can really get out of hand if you're not careful. So we're going to use a little bit of it for the sand. I'm trying to see if I can find something to get some of the product out of there so that we can use some. Decide what I have. I mean, we're going to use such a little bit of it that oh, I found my medicine bottles. Of course, when I no longer need it. All right, I have a popsicle stick here. Let me move this good and far out of the way because this stuff is super loose, and we just want to be careful. Let's see. Let's try. I thought I had some purple, but I guess I don't. Let's try a little rose red. See, and that comes packed. And a little Prussian blue. Very packed. All right, so this is just our scrap paper. And I'm just going to wet a good portion of this. Still have a little bit of something on my brush, obviously. And this is not very, this is like 50% cotton, so it's not going to be exactly the same on this paper. Okay. And then I'm going to take just, I'm telling you, see that? I barely got any on my brush. And it goes like crazy. And that'll be completely blue here in a minute. So you got to be super careful with it. You can put, it almost needs to be kind of, instead of real wet like it was, it kind of needs to be more of damp instead of wet. So it's basically 100% pigment powder, and it gets to be a little bit on the crazy side if you're not watching it. I'm trying to capture a few speckles in my sand, and that might start getting a little bit too much, but we will see. I'm going to move my light down a little bit here so that I can see, so that we can, I'll probably keep bumping my head on it. I'm going to pull some of this over here. Okay. All right, there we go. Can y'all see my hermit crab? If I do it that way. Good morning, Teresa. Thank you, everybody. All right, so let's get started on our background. I'm going to take a pretty big brush. You don't have to use one quite this big, but I'm going to take a pretty big one, and I'm going to go ahead and wet that really nicely. And I'm just going to come across my horizon, my sky here. I just have a very faint horizon line. My hermit crab, his shell kind of comes up over the horizon, so we want to go around that. And you'll be able to see him poking out a little bit more once we get our sky in. All right, make sure we've got plenty of water here and that we are nice and even. Pick up your paper and move it around and make sure you don't have any bare spots. And then we'll get our color in. Okay, I'm going to start more with a I'm going to have kind of a cobalty look somewhere down in here. Skipping a little bit from the top. And this should be good and wet, going all the way straight end to end. I'm going to take a little bit of yellow. I don't know that I want that color. That's the wrong color. Let's see. Let's try this. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to take some of my phthalo here a little bit. I'm going to put that in. But I'm going to add a lot more water to that. And I want a darker corner on this one side than I do here. As I come across, I want that to be a little bit lighter. And I just want some variations in my blues. And I really want a pretty turquoise. I don't have a pretty turquoise in my current colors here. Let's see what we got over here. Let's see what we've got in our stash over here. We've got this one. And I'm not sure that one looks like. Let's try these two. Let's see what they look like. That one's a little bit, I don't care for the color of that turquoise. This one's not what I'm looking for. This one, I want that color. All right. So, you re-wet that area that's been drying a little bit. I want to be careful not to go all the way up to that line up there, because what will happen is I put all this extra water up there where I've already laid the paint, is that I'll get a bloom. So I'm going to go part of the way, but not go up and touch it. Okay. So pretty. Look at that pretty turquoise. Love that turquoise. Now I'm going to come around my little hermit crab and let that, all that's wet, so it's going to start bleeding up a little bit. Put a little bit more of this color over on my palette here, so I'll have enough. Let me send this back over. Put this up over here out of my way. All right. I'm going to take my spritzer, and I'm going to spritz that some and move this around. And just move that paint. Make sure I've got a nice even horizon line. I'm going to go back to my horizon. Add a little bit more of this darker paint. And this is a little bit drier now. Okay. I want an area that has some light in it and not so dark. So I'm going to mix some of these blues together now, but adding lots and lots of water so that we're not adding too much darkness here. Okay. I'm going to tap it this way. I want that turquoise to run up some. I've got to be careful here because I don't want this blue to do that. Not too much anyways. I'm just aiming for the turquoise. Just taking my damp brush here and swiping. Trying to keep that area what it is. My paper's buckling here, so it wants to give me a line that I don't necessarily want. So we're going to try to manage that a little bit. And I'll come back and put some more of my cobalt. The cobalt, once it gets more water on it, it really starts to granulate. And if you're not familiar with that, some colors will granulate, meaning that when the water pigment touches them, the pigment particles will go down into the crevices of the paper. And some people really love that, and others don't. It just depends on what you're trying to accomplish. If you don't like that effect, it can be a real headache for the use of certain colors. I'm just going to lift some of this up right here at my horizon line. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you like them. Yeah, the turquoise is super pretty in it. And if I got any holes anywhere, don't worry about the edges too much, because you generally will have a mat or something over it. And so this area has really come out onto my horizon line, but I'm not going to stress over it too much. As a matter of fact, I'm just going to let it happen. Here it is. I'm going to let that happen, and I'm going to wet down here. And then, with too much water, I'm just going to let this happen. There we go. And that way, we're going to have a beach that has more of a softer edge to it. I hope. All right, so let's see. For the beach colors, I almost want to use a little hint of purple, but honestly, I'm going to take a little bit of cad yellow medium. This color can get super, super intense, so I really just want a little bit, and I'm adding a ton of water to it. So, all right, so I've got that, and I'm adding a ton. This water, this is a mop brush, and you can see by the time I'm finished adding all that water, you can hardly see that color, but I want to go ahead and start putting some of this down. You can go right over top of your hermit crab. Might need to add just a little bit more color. Let's see if we can. A little bit extra. A little extra color. There we go. Whoop! It got caught up in my brush. This is why you use smaller brushes to do your mixing. And so as I go up, I'm not going to go into that filtered blue that we've got there. I can go up to it, but I'm not going to go in it. I'm just going to go right over my crab so that you can barely even see that. But it takes care of a lot of the okay. Get rid of this brush now. It's working. You just go, and when you're doing wet on wet, sometimes you just have to work through the process. And I hope that's not a problem for you guys watching this kind of sideways. All right, let's try it. Actually have an area right here that I needed to tend to. And I'm going to take and see if I can't lift some of this off of my crab. Make sure I don't have any weird lines before I move onwards. Okay. Yeah. All right. Make sure you come up and around to the shell with that blue, and that you don't have any missing blue area. All right, let's try it now. Yeah, it's acting a little strange today. The blues are. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and take a little bit of this red. I'm not going to use much. I'm going to just tap some little speckles onto my paper. Really trying to control how much of this I use. I'm just taking this is still damp. And this can still move, so I have to be careful when I put my shadows on that I don't wake that up and make a real mess. So it's still doing its thing. Okay. What happened was I got a ton of it down here. It's just something you have to be super, super careful with because of just what it does. And it gets all in the grooves of the paper. Yeah, don't do that. It is brusho. Each one of these are anywhere from $10 to $15 each. But it'll last you a lifetime. You don't see how those are still growing. They're just very small little dots. If I sprayed that right now, I even have some over here on top of my Hermit frog. See, I put that onto my wet paper towel and see how it has stained my paper towel. I don't want to go back to that side and dry my brushes anymore because my brushes will pick up everything that's over there. So, all right, I'm going to take a smaller brush. I'm going to use my Escada number 4, and I'm going to make kind of a peachy orange color, I think. So let's see. I'm going to use some of my yellow that I mixed earlier for my sand. And I'm going to have plenty of water kind of in that. And this is pretty pigmented stuff here, so. All right, I'm going to take and pull from each section of his shell to the other, and I'm going to start. Remember that this is a concave. So pull your lines, make them concave. They should be lighter as they move to the top, so I'm going to come back with just a damp brush and see if I can't lift some of that till it gets lighter. And then as I come down this way, the curves are going to kind of come this direction. And then like that. And if I had a glass pen, I would take and scrub that, but I think my glass pen got broken. I've got one. And so they do have some lines that kind of come this direction. And they follow the curve of the shell. So actually, I'm going to go ahead and do that first as we put in our colors so that we'll have those in. And maybe the color will go ahead and find their way here. I'm using a very light hand. Okay. It's pigment powder. It's very highly concentrated, and you really need to practice with it before you just use it. And these should get lighter as they come up. And in the center, it'll just be straight across. And I'm going to make them lighter as they come out. So right now, I'm not going to add any new. See that? See how it's starting to find those where we brought them in? All right, I'm going to, oops, tap that. I'm going to take and I'm going to kind of scrub in to his shell a little bit here too, where he's got some texture here in his shell. So we're going to and then I'm just going to kind of make my brush, I'm going to make some brush strokes in this manner. And I want the bottom of this, his back shell, I want the bottom of it to stay that really light yellow that we use. So I'm going to kind of go ahead and make this my cutoff point. Okay? And then we'll I'm going to take some of this turquoise, a small amount of it, use quite a bit of water. I'm going to go ahead and dry this. Take some of that turquoise and I'm going to kind of come up here. We had some of this run into our shell earlier, and this will soften quite a bit. We're going to just put a little bit, and you really won't be able to see it. But just so that there's a reflectiveness from the sky. All right, I'm going to take that same turquoise and kind of put a little bit right here. I'm going to put a little bit up in his shell. Just here and there for color. Just for interest. Okay. All right, I'm going to take my really small brush now and I'm going to make a little bit of a warmer or cooler orange. Maybe mix in a little bit of brown umber with my orange. You can do your umber, or you can do what's the other one I like? Sepia. But you want it to be a warm brown. The orange is going to keep it warm. But we want some darkness here. So I'm gonna start adding in some shadows. I just dropped my brush. And start pulling in here some shadows. I'm just taking a wet brush now. You can see this brown kind of moving. It was obviously put down near a wet area, and I'm okay with that. You can even add in a little turquoise to that color if you wanted to. I think that would make it really almost like a grayish brown. I'm going to pull in a couple of striations into these. These top shells have, his back has these striations of color. That's pretty cool, in my opinion. You kind of need to do it in the direction that his shell's going to go. Don't do them straight across. Use the curvature of the shell as your guide. And it will help, and it will only help with the transitions and making this look like it's more dimensional. Make sure that, oops, I'll drop some water there off my ferrule. Make sure it doesn't go into that area that we already carved off. And let that area dry some. Move on. Do some of these other fine lines here. We're just really kind of creating the shape we want for our little guy. And you can let that dry on its own, or you can dry it in advance. My yellow really did lighten up quite a bit. This is, excuse me, that's Tanya's expertise. The names of shells are Tanya's expertise. All right, I'm going to go ahead and kind of create some shadowing. I'm going to kind of come off of my shell here, about right here, and maybe to this point, kind of come to a point. I'm going to make, I think, some Payne's gray. Oops, I picked up a lot of Payne's gray. And a little bit of purple. I want as little purple as I can possibly get. I'm going to go ahead and start a shadow. We'll fine-tune a shadow again later. This is a little bit of Payne's gray and a little bit, even a smaller amount of your purple. And as we get closer to being done, it's going to get really dark up underneath here. But I wanted to go ahead and start that because we might be adding a little bit more on the gesso, or a little bit more on the I'm going to come this way. I'm not going to manipulate that brusho that I've put down. I'm going to kind of keep my shadows going in the same direction. Okay. All right, we're just going to leave that for now. Maybe put another little bit over here, going this direction. And here. softening those off just with a damp brush. All right, let's go back to our little guy here. And I'm going to add in a little bit more of this. I think I want to pink this up a little bit. It's a little orange for me. I want to pink it up just a little bit. So I have lots of different colors that I'm using here for my crab, my shell. And I'm going to use more of this here. And let's see. And here. And pick up some more of my orange here, some more of my pink and orange. I can't get the right mixture color I want here. See, that's what I did when we put our brush down earlier. See how that's already changed quite a bit? And I've put my brush down. When I washed it off just now, I pushed it down where I left that brush on my paper towel. So once you use your brush, be very, very careful where you put your brush at. If you've used some paper towels, that type of thing in the area, clean them up. Get it out of there. Do what you have to do, because if you're tapping your brush down on it, you're going to pick that color up. Because those paper towels are staying wet. As long as you keep it wet, it's movable. I'll put my paper towel right here like this, and that way I won't be tempted. Okay. Trying to find the right colors that I like. That's pretty good, but I still want it pinker. That's better. That's more what I'm looking for. See the difference? All right. Now I'm just going to pull some of this in the direction I want it to go, leaving these little striations and fun colors. I'll just take my wet brush and dampen those areas off. I'm going to take some of my gray, my Payne's gray, I'm taking it up to my purple that I put up on here, adding a lot of water. I'm going to come and trace over this hole and go ahead and start my shadow down here at the bottom of my shell here. Oh, that will begin to start standing out some. All right. I'm going to take a little bit of a smaller brush. This is my number 3. And I'm going to start working in some of these details. And I'm going to pull. Some of my black or my Payne's gray. That's bleeding in over next to that one, so I'm going to go ahead and dry that. I have to pull some of that up first. Remember to watch your areas that touch one another. Okay, because we don't want to create chaos. I had all this worked out this morning, but it's going a little lopsided for me today. It's a turbo turbine. That's a good name for it. These little things are fast. A very good name for it. Well, I'm trying to pick up some richer color here. I'm not being very successful. What's everybody up to today? Just doing our little designs on the top of him. And this is what takes so long, is just your designs. So take your time, have fun, make him creative. You know, this is a cute little guy. I can remember as children, wasn't it hermit crabs that we had that we used to get at the beach in those little tiny cage type boxes and bring them home as pets? Isn't that what we did? Just trying to make it darker towards the bottom. Yeah, the sun, it's a really pretty day today here. We're supposed to get rain later this week. Whoops. I didn't mean to carry that, but so far. It's coming, it's coming, it's coming. Well, our lines didn't show up terribly well, but I tell you what, we're gonna see if we can't make it happen. Let's see if I can make a color. Maybe we can make a pile of it here. That might do. What I've done here is I've just mixed a little bit of my salmon color and a little bit of or a lot of water. Try to get this, encourage this color to come out or to find its way into these grooves that we put into our paper. And it's done it here in a couple of spots here, but in these smaller areas it hasn't really done it. So And I'm coming down here with a little bit of a darker shadowing here in these creases. And of course it's going to move because we've got water on it. But I like that. I like that, what it did. I think a fine line of purple would be really pretty there too. Let's see if we can use some of that purple in our mixture here. Our orange and brown mixture. We're going to kind of try to make some shadowing along in here. I got to see where I've got my line. All these little areas right here in between that's in the shadows, we're going to start doing some negative painting to kind of pull those out. You can do your legs and such first if you'd like to. This will get darker here in a minute. And I'm going to take and put some this looks like it's part of a maybe an appendage that he has that's not quite filled out. It's not on the ground. He's got some little, almost like fangs, or I'm not sure what these are. They might be fangs, not sure. He's got to eat somehow, doesn't he? Starting to get windy here. I'm going to start pulling some of this lighter color through here. All his little legs. Put the lightest color on first. Let's see. He's got a little wide one right here. And then we've got and just with a wet brush, I'm going to come over here. And wet brush right here. There's a little area where he's got some little feelers going on right here. So I'm gonna watch for that. And then right here. I don't want to move that. Alright, I'm going to take some of my purple and some of my orange and mix that together. Take my smaller brush here, dampen that, pick some of that up. And pick up a little bit more of my orange, put it over here on my orange side of my palette. That just ran like crazy. I'm going to try to keep a little bit of highlighting over here if I can. Okay, looks good. And I think we're going to kind of start working some of this in up here as well. I know I'm very concentrating, very much concentrating, Anna. I'm sorry, I'm not paying attention to comments. So we're getting there. Let's see. Hello, Dottie. Hi, Mary. Oops, I just lost comments. Oop, there we go. Hi, Brenda. All right. Little by little, we're getting our little guy done. It's going to take a lot more of finessing of our shell here. Just a wet brush now, softening that line. I'm pulling some of these lines down. I am mesmerized. I do that all the time. That's why I love painting. I love just taking my time and concentrating and losing myself in the moment. How does that sound for you? A little bit of. Pull some of this down here. But I'm going to take a damp brush now. And pull that out. And take a little bit more of my orange and put it in my purple mixture. And really it makes kind of a brownish color, a reddish brown color. Dampen my brush here and soften that off. And where these joints are to the claws is where I'm putting this brown and orange, this purple and orange mixture. Just water here. And I'm going to add a lot more orange over there. And put some right here. Rinse that off, and then I'm going to just run my wet brush right up here, up at the top. I do want a little extra purple right down here at the base. I'm going to go between these little fangs here. There we go. And then pull that right on down. And then I'm going to take some of this darker orangey purple again and put some here. And just dampen right here. Neighboring underneath me is yelling on the phone, definitely interfering with my mesmerization, my mesmerizationism. Oh, here. Okay, I had to take that in parts there. I'm sorry that is happening. That's annoying, isn't it? You can begin to see where we pulled out some of those hairs there. I think I'm going to use some purple and Payne's Gray. Get back into my shadows just a hair. It was so funny because last week in my seated watercolor class, they're all new students right now. It's a new class that started. And I had just got finished saying, don't leave your brushes standing in the water. Don't do that. And I went to rinse my brush. And this is something I never do, guys, ever. But I went to rinse my brush in the water, and someone asked a question and deterred my attention away. And I left my brush in the water for just a second, and I got scolded. It was so funny because one of my students had just left hers inside the water, and I just reached over and pulled it out and just reminded her not to do that. And I turned around and did it, and it was hilarious. It was so funny. She just took mine and she pulled it out of the water. Oh my gosh, I thought I was going to die laughing. We all had a good chuckle at that, but anyways. I love it. Lesson learned, right? For both of us. Sometimes we get distracted, right? And we don't pay attention, but try not to leave your brushes in the water. Somehow I got some purple in my little claw here. But I'm going to make that darker anyways. So. Got the worst indigestion today. With my grandkids here last week, I kind of got slack about taking all my morning medications like I should. And one of the meds that I take is for reflux. And so I got slack and wasn't taking it every day like I should. Shame on me. So my system is playing catch up today. Sometimes I'm going to go in and go really, really, really dark. And as I come out, let that get a little bit lighter. Okay. And especially right up in here, I want that really dark. And that's really going to help the rest of this to stand out. I'm just pulling it out a little bit lighter. That's right. And this might get even darker here in a minute. We'll see. Look, I got some orange over there. I don't know how I did that, but anyways. And we'll fine tune this so it gets us started and gives us something to work with. All right, I'm going to just try to... Okay. All right, now I'm going to go into more of my orange and make myself a nice little rich concoction of my orange and red. So I have a pretty orange-red color. I've got some colors that are super nice and deep. And we're going to kind of come in here and I'm going to carefully be careful. I want to be careful around this this edge of my claw here, because my edge, my shadow's down, and I don't want it bleeding into that. I'll lift some of this back. Okay. I'm going to take I'm going to pre-wet this section here, and I'm going to take and add some of my orangey color here. Let's see. I'm going to leave a little bit of highlight on one side of this part of the claw. There we go. I'm going to do the same thing for this part. It won't be as much because it's turned down. There we go. Let's see here. And then a little bit on right here. Pulling up some. All right. And right here, he's got some little personality type things there. So we're going to take some of our purple and a little bit of our orange, mix that color together. We're gonna, this is damp. I'll just tap in some little dots there. This brush doesn't have this tip on this brush likes to splay a little bit. It's probably like pores where these little projections come out. I'm only doing it on this bottom portion of it. I'm not going to do it on the upper portions. This brush does not make the prettiest little points. I'm going to go in and add some of my orange here. And then I'm going to take some of my purple and a little bit of orange, mix that color together. We're going to, this is damp. I'll just tap in some little dots there. It doesn't like to stay a nice circle. Just lightly. I'm going to lightly do this one because it's kind of at a different angle there. I'll let those dry. That's what he does. That's what he does. Listen to the experts, y'all. They'll tell you something. Okay. I'm going to take my small brush. I'm going to go ahead and put in what I perceive as antenna. I don't know really what they are. I actually am not going to use that brush because I really don't like how it doesn't give me a crisp area. Let's see what we've got here. Okay. This is a number 2 Grumbacher. And let's see if I can get some paint on this. And it might not be perfect strike on my very thin pencil line. And we're going to be okay with that because we can go back and fix it. Mixing a little bit more of my red and orange, using a lot of that. But we're going to add some water here. A little more red. I'm going to take, just going to come down this one side here. Come back and hit that one up with some richer color right along this side. Leaving some highlights here and there. Got a little dark there. I just keep picking the whole thing up. I'm not that great with a paper towel, am I? Let's do that. Okay, that's a little bit better. Not perfect, but better. And then we're going to do more of this side. On this one. Come back with a wet, damp brush. We're going to finish this up here in just a minute too. Well, we're going to finish it for today. It's not finished. There's enough texture on this paper that this particular brush likes to display. I need to find a better brush. Oh, good. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. He's harder than he looks. Oh, my goodness. That's okay, though. We're good. A lot of little details on this little creature. Lots and lots of details. We're going to lose this brush on when we do this one again. Because this one's just not doing it for me. And these areas, once they start getting darker, this is all going to really pop a whole lot more. And then we're going to have to do something more with the shell a little bit. But we're going to try not to overwork him. Okay. That looks a little bit more like it's together. All right. I think on this, I think I need a little bit of the orangey purple, but more orange than purple. Yeah, that purple really kind of pulls that down a lot. Okay. This will be a busy week. I've got my second seated watercolor class starting on Sunday, and so I'll have a busy week this week. And then I'll see you guys here again on Thursday, if not before, because I might have to come back on and finish this guy. That made it pop a little better. All right. Keeps fading out on me, so I have to keep going back and adding. That's what colors do. I'm going to take and re-wet this. A little bit too much. Okay, our little guys coming along. So we'll come back. I'll come back one day this week, probably, maybe tomorrow. We'll see. Maybe tonight. We'll see. And just finish them off. A lot of it's shadowing, and we got to remove our little hair follicles or these little prickly things and see what we need to do about that. And just tighten up the details here on our little guy. Fix our beach a little bit more. Those types of things. But I'm going to go ahead and dry him. He's fun. And I'll show you another way to add texture onto your paper that actually will give you a whole lot more control than the gesso if you've got a couple of them, or a cheap, just the cheaper the better with them, but some watercolor pencils. And I'll show you how else I can put like the little granular effect in sand. But we need to put some motion into our sand and such as well. So I'm going to let this warped piece of paper dry, and we'll come back and finish this off sometime in the next few days. So thanks for joining me, guys. I've got to hop off of here and grab myself a quick lunch and then go take my mother-in-law to the doctor. Hope y'all enjoy him. Take care. We'll see you soon. Hey, everybody. Trying to find my live here. Let's see. That's not it. Hope everybody's doing well. I am. Here I am. All right. So impromptu, I wanted to try to get this finished for you guys today. It's still, because this is not on a block where it's not glued the whole way around, it's quite wavy. And I don't know if you know this, but with 100% watercolor, 100% cotton watercolor paper, once it's completely dry, you can turn it upside down, put some parchment or something like that over top of it, and press it flat. So that's a wonderful, wonderful thing. But we're gonna finish off our beachiness today and go ahead and get that done. I'm gonna water in some of my turquoise here, and I'm just going to do it wet on dry to begin with, so I'll have more control over it. I'm using a flat, and I'm going to go around his little feeler thing here, and I'll fix that in a little bit. Go around his shell, being very careful not to go into the shell, and then along our horizon line. And I'm going to make sure I cover that horizon line mark with my pencil mark really well. Okay. And I'm just going to take my damp brush and soften that off. I still have Brusho on my paper towel over there by my water, and you can see that it still picked up some of that purple, that pink. So be careful. Let me get some fresh paper towel here. Yeah, I picked up some of it on the side of my brush there. See that? It's super, super powerful. There we are. And I'm just going to take and wet this center part. I'm going to go ahead and wet this up here too, because I'm going to put some cobalt here. I did not pre-wet my paints. Shame on me. And I'm just going to not try to make that a perfectly, that's a little much, but anyways. There we go. Be really careful about going around this little antenna type feeler and then just making that much more and this is not a watercolor brush, I don't think. It's just a basic flat. All right. I'm going to take a little bit of smaller brush, more detailed point. Okay. And I'm just going to lightly wet down here, let some of this color soften up. All right. I kind of want a little pink, but just a little bit. I'll mix it in what's left on that blue, and it's going to give me a really light. I'm mixing it into that turquoise. It's making a kind of a really light purpley blend. Now it's going to pick up some of that brush that I put down here yesterday. In order to control that, have a paper towel in hand. I'm going to... The more water you use, the more you're going to loosen up that gesso there. And I don't really want all that there, but I'm afraid the more I add, the worse it's going to get. I don't want a solid line there. I don't want a hard line right here. But I do want some color in my sand. I don't want this to be all solid. And I like that it's wet a little bit. With my damp brush here. A little bit of my pinky purple, and I'm going to kind of pull some of that this way. Just in the edge of it. And then some here. This pinky purple color. This brush that I'm using is an Escada. This is Ultimo. It's a David Taylor brush. It's wonderful for putting down. It's a natural hair brush. Do you see how that folds over like that? This is how you can tell you have more natural hair than not. You'll get something that folds over more. Just unwhiting this paper essentially is what I'm doing. I really do not like all that, but there's nothing I can do about it. Nothing at all. All right, I'm just gonna, and this loses hairs every once in a while. I'm just gonna let it dry and then I'll pick it off. There's no need in me trying to fuss with it now. Okay, now I'm going to take a piece of sandpaper, and I'm going to pick a couple of colors here. I'm going to pick this color. I'm going to just sand down some of this area here, some there, some there. Take a little bit of a different color. Maybe get a little bit of a darker. Because I've left my area damp, these are watercolor brushes. These are actually Prismacolor. I'm going to do a little blue just to kind of pull in this. Okay. Ooh, what a mess. Okay. That's a big, big mess. Hey, Tanya. I'm just going to tap some water on some of this. Let it loosen itself up. See what happens. I'm just playing at this point. Okay, I'm liking that a little bit better. Okay. Yikes, I picked up some brush over my brush again. Really don't like this blue right here. Really, really don't. But this is down into the pores of this paper, and there's no way I'm going to be getting it out. Okay, we're going to let this dry for right now. Because all these little bits of pencil that we sanded on here for the grains are going to loosen up and do their thing. Let's try this. I've got a huge yikes. I had evidently splattered water there. Let's see if we can get some more of this color over here on our palette. You can still see that. It's probably going to have to dry completely before I fix it. Let's see. Hi, Mary. Hi, Pam. I think I said hi to Tanya. It's a pretty day here. We're supposed to get rain later. Just picked up some more of my cobalt. I'm going to go back up here. Right up here to these corners especially. And see that cauliflower is coming back through. Once you get a bloom like that, it's really hard to go back and fix that. So I'm going to use a brush that's got a little less water in it. Let's see if I can get a bigger brush here. Using another Estada brush. All right, I've got this line here where I use a pencil to kind of pull out this horizon line, and I can't seem to get it covered. It's really bugging me, but if I keep working it, it's just going to get worse, and I am just kind of hoping that I can make this at least a compromise to what I would like to see. So I'm just pulling out my big mop brush here, and I've dried this a little bit, and I'm trying to soften and pull back some. Hi, Sherry. Hi, Tan. Hey, how is everybody? Mary, everybody. All right, so I'm going to go back into some of my shadows here. Let's see if we can... Sometimes when you stop and start a work, it's hard to get back to the where you want to be at. All right, I've just got my purple, my violet, and I'm going to come back here right up underneath of him as close as I can get. And I'm going to drop some dark shadow. And under him, okay, so here we're going to take and separate the top of our shell, his back shell. And so that's going to be pretty dark right in there. All right, and then I'm going to be really dark right through here, and it'll lighten up as it comes back. And why am I using purple? Some of y'all might be saying, why is she using purple? What is your best guess? Why am I using purple for the shadows? And then I'm just taking a damp brush and pulling that color out some. You can really see where we left now. We left that masking fluid there, and it really kind of helped pull that crab back out again. All right, I'm going to take more of a pinky or a red purple right here. Kind of go around his little claw. And then here, again, I've got a little bit of I'm leaving a little bit more darker directly under. Okay. It would be a little bit too dark, and black kind of kills a painting, but I'm using purple because if you look on your color wheel, I got two of them out here. And he's kind of orange, so we're going to go with that. And the opposite of orange is blue or blue-violet, and then we get into the purples. So we've used some of the blue-violets as well. So anything in this range, orange, is always going to be a good compromise. So is the blue-green, like the turquoises that we used. So, you know, think about your color theory and what's going to really make your painting pop when you're choosing your shadow colors. Don't use black, or don't always use Payne's Gray either. You can mix a variety of colors in Payne's Gray, or you can mix your own blacks with the colors that you have available instead of just using the black that they give you, which is very flat and lifeless. It can really kind of kill your painting a little bit. And, you know, mine got a little wild up here at the front. But you can see those granules. I wish I hadn't have done the gesso, but it's too late for me to turn the corner on that one. And it is what it is. So, it's done. What's done is done. I think I need to go back and reinforce my little dots on his claw some. So I'm just taking my brush and kind of coming back into these. This brush keeps a nice point on it when I do that, rather than the other one that I used yesterday. So those little points there are going to be good. All right, let me dry everything. I might have to paint him again with a different foreground, but I just wanted to play and show y'all different ways as well. Next time I won't use the Brush-O on this one. The Brush-O can really just, see there, I took that hair and I just flipped it right off once it's dry. You don't have to worry about smearing paints or anything. This area right here, let me see if I can. Pull that up. Just getting up close underneath of our crab here. Looks okay. You don't want to overwork your paper too much because it'll start to disintegrate. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's good stuff with some things. I'm not, if you're a really loose abstract painter, it's wonderful, but I do pull it out and use it every once in a while. All right, let's draw this one more time, then we're going to take off our masking. I'm gonna just going back over my marks here. Now, these here didn't get out there too far, but it's okay. I'm just going to wet a brush, and then I'm just going to take and run over some of those. Some of these turn purple. I'm just kind of going in and simplifying these a little bit. Some of them got fat. Okay. It's colorful, isn't it? This is pretty wet. This towel is pretty wet. Being nitpicky now. See, I still have my, even after that's dry, still have my cauliflower right here. Let's see if that will cover it. It's not perfectly covered, but it's a little bit better. Thank you. All right. I'm trying to soften this shell. Purple got onto the bottom of it, and I got a little bit of a hard line there, so that looks better. This orange likes to kind of soften off, so you kind of have to pop it a little bit more with more color. Notice that on these final layers, I don't cover the whole thing. I just put it in certain places. Bring your shadow all the way down. I'm going to use a red purple, but bring your shadow from all the way to the top there and down here. And then I pull it out a little bit right there, but I keep it close. Oops, don't want to cover my little hairs, so just taking a damp brush now, softening that edge. And I could go back and pop these colors again. A little pink. What are y'all up to today? We're going to paint something Mother's Day-ish on Thursday. So the darker I went everywhere else, I need to compensate for that for all my other areas. So these dark shadows sometimes going to require a pop in these other colors. And up here, we're just kind of keeping this area here soft. Go back over that. There we go. I'm going to kind of go along each edge of these little from one side. Make these pop some. All right, I think it's coming along. Go in between my little doodads here. And you could totally go back with a little bit of gouache and add some highlights here if you wanted to. All right, I'm going to stop before I overwork this, but I certainly already have put a little bit too much of the granulation in the sand, but I like the texture. I like texture. This here is starting to need some attention. A little orange on my brush. Let's see. Just have a damp brush here and softening these. All right. So if there's anything I would like to see, let me see what you said here, Sherry. You trace an outline a day ago or so that you could paint it, but not sure where I've placed it. We'll find it through. Okay. I'm thinking about doing something like a field of flowers, or you know, just like a flower, a still shot, like a still life. And I've got my traceable. I gotta find it. I took my original by mistake. You can see where my pencil marks were. I took my original and used my red pen to get this on here. You see, I did that on the back. I can put this up on the group site as well, and this will help. I'm sorry that it's in red, but I use my original to. Sometimes I'm got too much going on and I grab stuff in a hurry. But if you're interested, I can put this up there. All right, we'll see what we can do with that, and a field of flowers and such. If y'all have any other ideas as we move up towards Mother's Day, just send me a message or drop me a line anywhere here in the group, and we can try and pull some of those suggestions in throughout the weeks ahead. Okay, so I'll get this up and try not to go crazy down here like I did. But it was fun. It was real fun. Y'all always make it funner. Oh, I gotta show y'all my new brushes. These are my Fumui brushes. Have you seen these, guys? Have y'all seen these brushes? They're not inexpensive. They're not inexpensive, but some people on Facebook do have affiliations with this company. I don't. I just bought mine straight out. But I got the 6 set. You can get a 4 set or a 6 set. But when you get them, I don't know if you can see that or not, but they've got a nice belly. Let's show you on a bigger one. I don't want to take my thing off yet, but there's a nice belly with a long tip on it, long skinny tip. And so all your paint and water gets stored up here in this belly. And when you're having to do those fine details, you don't have to go back and load so much. Keep loading it. All of the paint and the water stays up at the top. It's going to be a little bit of a learning curve because of the way you use your brushes, but they're beautiful brushes, and I haven't started using them yet, but I'm looking forward to practicing with them and trying new things with them. And so if you see me pull one out, I might as well just go on ahead and try it while I'm working with you guys. Oh, they're all over Facebook, but you can order them on Amazon as well, which is where I got mine. They're the same price, unless you find somebody who's got an affiliate, and then you get 10% off. I think, as much as I've seen. You can get, that should take care of shipping. It took a while. It took a while to get them. But I'm very excited to use them. Anyways, guys, hope y'all have a great rest of your day, and we'll chat with you later. Love ya.